Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 29th Annual Catalyst Awards dinner. Let me start by congratulating tonight's award-winning initiatives from Chevron Corporation and Procter & Gamble and their CEOs, John Watson and A.G. Lafley. I'd like to extend my personal thanks to our dinner chair, Ellen Coleman, Chair of the Board and Chief Executive Officer of DuPont. Ellen, you are a source of inspiration to me, to women and men throughout the world, and to everyone in this room. I'm deeply honored to share the stage with you tonight. I want to thank Toyota for sponsoring the contest that led to the unique and inspiring video we just saw. To my talented colleagues at Catalyst, thank you for your dedication to our mission. I could not be more proud of the people I have the privilege of working with every day. And to each of you in this room, thank you for making this one of the corporate world's most important events. With your tremendous support, we have sold out the Grand Ballroom once again and have raised close to $5 million today. It's been a year since I stood on this stage and introduced myself to this audience for the first time. I told you about my journey growing up in a Canadian fishing village to becoming president and CEO of one of the world's most admired NGOs, and how my personal story informs my vision and aspirations for Catalyst. I talked about the word promise, referring both to people's potential and a pledge to see it in others. And I talked about the changes I hope you'll see as Catalyst looks to the future, guided by our 53-year-old mission, but focused on solutions for today's working world, a globally connected world made smaller by technology, but one that feels much larger when we consider the challenges we face. It's a world where diversity no longer refers only to gender, but to culture, language, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, generational differences, and so much more. A world where inclusion has the potential to unlock the innovation that will drive companies and economies forward. Tonight, I ask us to reflect on this evolving world where true leadership is not a function of authority, but of behavior, as Catalyst's own Danielle Hughes reminded us so powerfully earlier tonight, and where transformational change is often sparked by the unlikeliest of leaders. We know this from recent history, from Malala refusing to drop out of school, to actor Emma Watson's speech to the United Nations, where she called on men to partner with women in the fight for gender equality. We know this from our own families. I know this from my 4-year-old nephew, Ethan, who made my family reconsider gender norms by actually begging me to paint his toenails. To my brother-in-law, Jim, who refused to sit silently by as he listened to his fellow plumbers mock the one woman on their work site. We know this from men and women whose willingness to be seen in a different light challenges the rest of us to see the world in a different light. From Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, who told the world he's proud to be gay, to Bob Moritz, U.S. Chairman and Senior Partner at PwC, who called on men in a powerful way to build their own personal case for inclusion. We know that when someone steps up or speaks up, when remaining silent is easier or safer, they are making a deliberate choice to disrupt the status quo. We know this because each and every one of us has experienced a moment when we too made a choice to let an inappropriate joke slide, to sign off on a job offer knowing that the woman candidate was offered less than her male predecessor, to get along by going along. But the diverse and connected world that we live in today demands more from all of us. People from all walks of life, at all levels of society, are redefining and expanding our notions of leadership by demonstrating the leadership behaviors that Catalyst research links to inclusion: empowerment, accountability, humility, and courage. I know that we're not all activists, famous actors, children without fear, or CEOs. But each and every one of us in this room has the potential to step up and lead. I visited 10 countries in 2014, and everywhere I went, people asked the same question: why is progress on issues of gender equality so slow? And how can we accelerate momentum? Like most complex issues, there's no simple answer. But as I've listened to the stories from men and women around the world, I've come to one overwhelming, maybe simplistic conclusion. There's no such thing as men leaders and women leaders. There are only good leaders and bad leaders. Some of them are men and some of them are women. So it's time to redefine leadership in a way that will set the stage for gender equality. In too many cases, diversity efforts continue to be check-the-box exercises, where counting activities is used as a proxy for progress. In too many countries, including this one, access to affordable, reliable, and quality daycare, childcare continues to be viewed as a woman's issue. In too many societies, we fail to connect the dots between violence against women in our homes and in our streets and women's experience in the workplace. In too many cultures, we continue to put men in boxes. And in too many companies, we're still debating whether flexibility will undermine productivity instead of seeing it as a tool for work-life integration in a 24/7 connected world. So why are we surprised that women's representation in leadership has increased only marginally in a generation, or that the gender pay gap hasn't budged in decades? When we continue to define roles, work, and leadership using yesterday's norms. The good news is we have the power to change course. What if the chemical engineer I met in Vienna, who was underestimated and overlooked by a bad manager, had worked for a company like Chevron, where every employee is held accountable for diversity and inclusion? What if the woman I met in India, facing pressures from her family to leave a career she loved because of her family's concern with her safety, had worked for P&G, a company that refuses to use violence against women as an excuse for not hiring them, and instead collaborated with local government to change the law so that women could get to and from work safely? And what if women stopped worrying about whether our husbands sent the kids off to school with socks that didn't match and just let it go? It resonates, right? How would the lives of women and men, their sons and daughters, businesses and communities change if they worked with truly inclusive leaders? I believe we'd change workplaces and change lives. It's time, our time, and our turn to make good on the promise of gender equality, to build new workplaces where women and men are given equal chances to succeed and equal pay for equal work. Workplaces where pregnancy is treated like a brief life stage, not a permanent professional obstacle. A world where we stop thinking of fathers as occasional babysitters and once-a-month chefs and start treating them as co-parents who have equal responsibility for their families and deserve equal consideration when it comes to flexible work and parental leave. What if we created workplaces and societies where childcare is viewed as everybody's issue, where employees don't just punch in and power through, but connect, engage, and inspire each other to have real impact? It's time to build workforces and leadership teams that look like the communities we serve, and to go one step further. It's time to start fresh, to create innovative, dynamic organizations where empowerment, accountability, humility, and courage are recognized and rewarded as essential attributes of leadership. Tonight, I'm calling on each of you to step up and be a leader for the world of today by following the example of tonight's honorees. John and AG know that programs don't create inclusion. People do, by their decisions, actions, and behaviors. They know that leadership isn't just about giving talks or accepting awards. It's about determining what needs to be done and doing it. John and AG did more than sit on a one-time panel about women in leadership. They did more than speak at a conference or show up to a couple of meetings. They chose to lead intentionally and inclusively every single day. And you can do the same. Because the power of inclusive leadership is that it's available to everyone. Yes, it requires fresh thinking, hard work, and a willingness to learn from your mistakes, whether you're in the corner cubicle or the corner office. Eleanor Roosevelt once asked, "What could we accomplish if we knew we could not fail?" I believe we can build workplaces where all individuals feel valued, families are supported, businesses benefit, and nations prosper. Tonight, I ask you to join me in making this vision an everyday reality by practicing the art of inclusive leadership. It's time, our time. Thank you very much.